Good afternoon, grade 12. So I've got another question that I'm going to discuss with you guys. And today we will focus on a question in the consumer. And I'm opening up my screen. Just give me a second. Share. Let me just share the right screen there with you. And here we go. So it says the danger lights go on for the middle income group in South Africa. It's becoming more difficult for middle income consumers in South Africa to put food on the table. Increases in inflation, petrol and diesel are making it financially more difficult for consumers. It is predicted that the income tax will also increase in 2017. So let's see what's the questions. I take it that the questions are going to be based on inflation and increases in petrol and food prices. But let's see. Define the term inflation. So define inflation. There's not really a specific way that you can answer this question. A definition is a definition, and my suggestion is that you study your terminology lists that you have received from your teacher. If you do not have a terminology list, I want you to send me a DM on Instagram. I'm going to link my Instagram account here, and then I am going to get you the terminology. Or you can send me a comment on here, and I can send you the terminology lists for all of the sections in grade 12 this year. So please let me know. Then the next question says describe. That means that we have to go a little bit more in detail about what it is that we see or what we find from a given piece of information. Describe the effect of inflation. So we have to talk about inflation on the purchasing power of the rand. Remember, your money has purchasing power. 100 rand can buy a certain amount of goods or services for that 100 rand. So describe the effect of inflation on the purchasing power of the rand as predicted in the extract. So we have to look at what this information says. So we'll go back again. Then 213 is name two ways. Name two ways in which the government obtains income tax from middle income consumers. So that previous question was also 2 marks, and then this one 2 marks. Fuel levies are paid by consumers for every liter of petrol or diesel that they buy. So that's a statement. Explain, meaning use full sentences, what the fuel tax or levies is used for in our country. Okay. And 215, explain how the increase in the petrol and diesel price, how the increase in the fuel price will contribute to the challenges South Africans have to put food on the table. So how is it making putting food on the table more difficult, or how is it contributing? Is it contributing in a positive way or in a negative way? Now, we know that when petrol prices increase, everything else is going to increase. So it's going to have a negative impact. But let's get back to our questions. So for 211, a very plain and simple answer. It is a definition. So it is the rise in the price of goods and services in a year. Perfect. Then 212. We have to describe the effect of inflation on the purchasing power of the rand. Now, we know that inflation is bad. Inflation decreases the purchasing power of money. So there will be a decrease in the purchasing power of money. Now, what does that mean? That means that consumers will buy less goods or services than what they bought the previous year. Remember, when our purchasing power goes down, I cannot afford as much as I used to. And why can I not afford as much as I used to? Because the price of goods and services has increased. This one only counts 2 marks. So saying 2 things, 2 facts of how inflation affects the purchasing power, then that is going to be 2 things will be fine. Remember that they also say as predicted in the text above. Now, when we looked at the text above, it says that it is becoming more difficult to put food on the table. Inflation, petrol and diesel prices that are getting more expensive is thus making it more difficult. So we are explaining, describing the effect of inflation on our purchasing power by looking at what the case study says to us. It says it's predicting that it makes it more difficult to put food on the table. Right. Then 2 and 3, 2 ways in which the government obtains income tax from middle-income consumers. Now, we know that there are many ways in which the government collects tax, but from income tax specifically, there are 2 forms. It's pay as you earn. If you want to spell it out, pay as you earn. And then the other one is provisional tax. So income tax is paid monthly by a consumer, whereas provisional tax is only paid twice a year, and it's mostly for those who have an irregular income, where they do not have a stable income every single month that is the same. So an example of that would be a farmer, for instance. Then 214, it says that fuel tax or levies are paid for every liter of petrol or diesel that we buy. Explain what it is used for. Now, in South Africa, this money is used for the road accident fund. It is used for the RAF, which means the RAF is the road accident fund. I'm not going to spell that out for you. And that is to compensate third-party victims in car accidents. Okay. And then number 215. Explain how the increase in petrol and diesel is going to contribute to the challenges that we have putting food on the table. So we know that when the petrol and the diesel price increases, the production of food is going to be more expensive. So let's start by saying producing food will be more expensive. When producing food is more expensive, shops will have to increase the prices of their goods and services because they are paying more for them from the producer. So they have to increase the price on the product in the shop. And when the price of the product in the shop increases, it means, let's just talk about, we can't say services, we have to say goods, or then in brackets, food. Remember, the question is based on putting food on the table. All right, so shops will then have to increase the price of their goods or their food. And that means which consumers will have less money to afford these food items. Now, this question counts 3, and I've just shown or explained 3 ways in which the increase in fuel prices affects us negatively to put food on the table. So let's see if we look at the marking allocations where we would have received marks. First of all, looking at the definition of inflation, it is the rise or the increase in the price of goods and services over a year or a specific period of time. So I'm going to get a mark for saying it is a rise in the price of goods and services. It's very important that we note we have to say it is a rise in the price of goods and services. I'm just going to underline that. We cannot say the rise in goods and services. That means that the amount of goods and services have increased, and that is wrong. Inflation is the rise in the price of goods and services, and then we would have also received another mark for saying over a specific period of time. Right, describe the effect of inflation on the purchasing power of the rand as predicted in the extract. They are giving a mark for saying that inflation decreases the purchasing power of the rand. I'm pretty sure that we said something like that. So let's see. There will be a decrease in the purchasing power of money. Perfect. There's our first mark. Fewer goods and services can be bought with the same amount of money due to the decreased value of the rand. So I'm pretty sure that we mentioned something about being able to afford fewer goods. Consumers will buy less goods and services than what they bought the previous year. And that question also counts 2 marks. We've added a third by saying the price of goods and services have increased. Goods and services will become more expensive. So that would have been correct as well. Looking at 213, name the 2 ways in which the government obtains income tax from middle income groups. They've got pay as you earn and provisional tax as well. So we are getting our full 2 marks there. Then fuel tax and levies. Explain how they are used or what they are used for. It says the levy is used for the road accident fund or for third-party victims of motor vehicle accidents. We actually mentioned both, so we are already receiving a mark saying that it is used for the road accident fund. Then explain how the increase in the petrol and diesel or the fuel price is going to contribute to the challenges we have to put food on the table. So they say food producers using petrol and diesel in the production process may have an increase in production costs. We talked about increasing production costs. Producing food will be more expensive. There we are going to get a mark. Right? Then wholesalers and retailers will then increase their food prices to make a profit. And therefore, consumers will spend more of their income on food. Let's see what we said. Shops will have to increase the price of their goods. There we've got it, which consumers will then have less money to afford these items. Perfect. So there's also a 4th option that you could have answered. Imported food prices may also increase as a result of the increased transport costs. Yes, because air transport also uses fuel to move these food items if we have to import it from other countries. All right, so there you've got it. Guys, like I mentioned, if you have any questions that you want me to look at specifically, you can go and send them through to me over on Instagram. And like I mentioned earlier, if you do not have the terminology lists for grade 12 consumers for this year, send me a message as well and I can get it through to you.